gi jin so gi pe so nam ki dro lai ben che sang ge dro pa shu. To the excellent Buddha, Dharma and Sangha I go for refuge until the attainment of enlightenment. Through the merit of my generosity and so forth, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of benefiting beings.
So we were discussing about the Abhidharma and the mind. Traditionally, I think in India as well as in Tibet, we categorize the 10 or 5 subjects to be studied. We say that 5 great subjects to be studied and the 5 minor or small subjects to be studied. And among the 5, art, medicine, language, and the logic. Language, and then the logic, and then the inner science. So the Buddhist philosophy, Dharma, actually is the 51, the inner science. Because I think in the previous, before the Buddha, when we say outer science and inner science, for example, when you study art, or art in the sense that when you study how to paint, how to build, these kind of things. So these are, you are working with the material world, and because of that, your knowledge is towards the material, how they works. That's why I think they call outer. And then the whole spiritual part is called the like spirit. Yeah. So it's about the mind. It's about inside. And but in the monastery, usually you have all these, but we focus on the inner science. But then among the, I think in Tibet, since monks, they are the literate people who can read and write, who have access to knowledge. So it's very common that painter is also a monk, mostly monks. And doctors are also monks. And also people who study language, these are also monks. So mostly monasteries, monks, especially the astrology, medicine is very much based on the Tantra, Buddha's teaching, related to the spiritual path. And also in Vajrayana, we use lots of art, medicine. Yeah. So it's kind of required if you are a Vajrayana practitioner. So it's because of that they all come together. But lately you have pending schools, not many but some. So you can, after you finish your study, you can practice painting or medicine, separately. But in the monastery, usually we have 3 language in the sense that you have to learn whole Tibetan classical grammar, because in the Tibetan, the spoken language and the written language is kind of different. So you might speak, everybody can speak their own language, dialect, but then when it comes to reading or writing, you have to learn all this grammar rules for a long time. It's quite complicated because it's not practical. It doesn't use in daily life. That's why. But the true thing, the inner science, which is with this Buddhist, whole Buddhist philosophy and everything practice, and the epistemology, logic, these are almost studied together. The reason is that so when you say inner science, you are studying about mind. And for example, the 2 greatest texts that we study in the monastery is Abhidhamma Kosha, which talks about general Buddhist philosophy about mind, and then this on top of that, the ornamental realization, and then there's another text called the Pramana Vartika, so epistemology. So these 2 are main texts in a way. So the reason is that you are studying about the mind, and in the, for example, in the ornamental realization and in the Abhidhamma Kosha, it talks about the essence of mind mostly, or what is the category of mind and all these kind of things. Because now to establish that, you have to have some sort of criteria, some sort of logic. Because if you don't have a logic, you cannot establish and say this is right and that is wrong. So this system of pramana or epistemology becomes like, for example, if you are a carpenter, you have let's say you have a wood, but then you need a ruler, or maybe saw. So this ruler and a saw, all these tools is used by epistemology, this combined two. And in epistemology is it's not just a logic, but actually it talks very detailed about how mind functions. That's why it's important. So in one text it talks more about the essence of mind, category of mind, and then the one text it talks about, okay, so how does this mind function? So what are the criteria? What are the tools that we use in order to understand that? And that's why you have to study these main these two subjects. Then texts such as Madhyamaka, like Heart Sutra, it is the process of establishing the practice. For example, in Heart Sutra it starts from form is emptiness, so this is the one process, understanding. Second, we call the four four folds of establishing the emptiness. And emptiness is form, and form is no other than emptiness and is not. So it goes similar, and each this logic establishes set. It goes little one layer of reality, but at the same time it will eliminate one layers of our cloudy mind, ignorance. So for example, when you understand the first word, form is emptiness, it will eliminate the wrong view of a permanent, truly existence. So we can say it will eliminate the wrong view of eternalism. And when you understand the second one, emptiness is form, then it will eliminate the wrong view of nihilism. So it's kind of like and that's why we call the middle way. Yeah, when you are free from eternalism by understanding form is emptiness, and when you are free from the nihilism by understanding emptiness is form, and then you are in the middle way. And then also both neither. So this is the four kind of wrong views, but important is the first two. Second and third is more like hypothetically existent. But the four, normally we have this view of first two extremes, whether eternalness of existence or the nihilism of non-existence. So if we look at the flower, the first thing there are many layers, but if we look at the truly existence flower there, truly existence beautiful flower that is established by its own nature. This is the wrong view. And when you understand the form, flower is emptiness. There's many layers we can understand, but flower does not exist as it appears to us. We think it is, such as one thing, such as the beautiful by objectively, such as the dualistic. So this flower is beautiful, this is not. So this is first layer. Now when we say this is not very difficult in a way, and also of course the thinking that the flower is established by objectively. Flower establishing the completely independently from the subject or the my consciousness that experiences this flower. And also this beauty, I see it as an objectively, not knowing that because I am a human being, yeah, because of that I'm being able to see this flower as beautiful flower. So when you have all these objectively established, independently beautiful, so what happens is that it has all these components for the cloudy mind to be attached to that. So now when you take one by one, then you have more control, because right now almost that flower is controlling me because of that confusion. But when you see all these are relative, all these are dependent, all these are subjective, then there's some sort of independent, whether I want to be attached or not. It's not completely like hijacked by the flower, you know. So this is how mind works. More illusion, the more object will control you. More you understand the reality, more you have independent and you have power to react. Now the second one is when we say that emptiness is a form, the meaning, even though we think, oh, sometimes it looks like a flower and sometimes it looks like emptiness, right? So we almost separate the flower, the existence of the flower, and the emptiness of the flower, and we think that these are two contradiction or opposite substances. So that might be problem, because we always look to reality somewhere else, you know, than that is in front of us. So when we say emptiness is a form, we are talking about that this flower appears to you while it is empty. So it is a moment, same time. It was not like 1 second is being flower, 1 second is being empty. It's not like that. So while it is flower, while it appears to you as a real flower, still it is emptiness from the reality's point of view. There's nothing off and on. Nothing is changing. So flower was emptiness from the beginning to the end and will be. And while it appears to us real lady, real flower, by the nature it's still emptiness. So what it helps you is that it's not about flower being true or not, empty or not empty. It's all about how I recognize it, how I perceive this phenomenon, and how I judge this phenomenon. So it gives us the understand the subjective reality that what we experience is. Maybe dream is a good example, because it's not that you get scared one moment and it become a dream in another moment, you know, and then you wake up and it becomes something else. It's not like that. So in the dream, tiger, let's say we saw a tiger and get scared. So while you see the tiger, still the tiger is a dream tiger. So it is not that it was changing one to other. So the reality was that it was a dream tiger, and it was also a same when you wake up. And then this is very important, because many times we misunderstood the meaning of emptiness, and then we argue like, okay, so if this flower is emptiness, how I can see it? How come it is the object of my eye faculty, and so forth. So when Buddha says form is emptiness, he was not saying like, oh, there's nothing. He was trying to tell us that what we experience is not the ultimate reality of what it is. It is happening through the illusion. And there's a second layer of reality. So that's why it's hard to translate also. And I think in English, when you say voidness, yeah, it gives you an idea of that rejecting the flower, the existing flower, kind of a void, and then whether it destroyed or it becomes something else. Right? But the idea is that what you experience, like in the dream, what you see tiger, the way how you see was not the reality. That is the point. Not saying that you're not allowed to see the tiger, or it was completely non-existent. No, we can still see the tiger. And also, because of this misunderstanding, there is also a lot of questions about karma, related to the. And we say, oh, if everything's emptiness, so then why we should follow the ethics? Because even though it is emptiness, until you recognize it fully, you will have like a dream like a hell, dream like suffering, and dream like, because as long as you are sleeping, it doesn't help anything to just saying that, oh, it is a dream. Still tiger will come and eat you. You have to run. But in reality, it is a dream. It was an illusion. But as long as you are not wake up, you have to follow the rule. And that's why, the understanding the second one will help you that free from the wrong view of nihilism. Because when you hear the word like form is emptiness, you hear that, oh, there's nothing, but it doesn't mean. Yes, it's true that there's no hell, there's no non-virtues, but it doesn't help because you're still in the duality. You have to go to by accumulating dream like non-virtues, you have to go to the dream like hell, and you have to experience the dream like suffering. So it doesn't make any difference, But in reality, it is true. Once you wake up, then everything was, a dream. So this is a very important point to understand. And sometimes also people say, oh, if everything's emptiness, then what's the point of making offerings, right? This is exactly the same. Yeah, it's true. Once you completely become enlightened, then offering is in the sphere of concept, right? But until you're there, you make offering, dream-like offering to the dream-like Buddha, you will get a dream-like result. It's like in the dream, the tiger is coming to eat you, and you call your friend and he comes to save you. It helps. So it's a bit like that. And when you understand these two things, then you will understand what is meaning of middle way, how important it is. Not clinging it as reality, but at the same time not disregarding whole path. Usually when we talk about the ultimate reality, the first thing we come from the excuse of laziness is, okay, so now all these paths are meaningless, right? But it's not actually. So these paths are dream-like a path will lead you to awaken, right? Even though the path itself is a dream. It's like inside you're sleeping and your friend is trying to wake you up in the dream, and because of that you wake up, you get out of this nightmare. So all our practices are like that. So it's very important to balance between this emptiness and the illusion. Understanding illusion, but doesn't necessarily mean that all the illusions are useless. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's impossible to get rid out of it. We can do that. Sometimes in the dream, you have a nightmare and your friend comes and do something and you wake up, it helps. It's like that. So what I was trying to say is that there's in the inner science, in one we study the mind itself, and in pramana we study how mind functions, and the whole reason is that so that you understand the mind, and so that you don't fall into the two extremes, be able to remain on the middle way. That is the right path to see the reality and eliminate all the cause of suffering. Because more you are close to the reality, more you will be middle way. So for us, since our gross wrong views or disturbing emotions are very much based on this, the first one, not empty. So first thing what we have to do is among the four, the first one, understanding the empty, but not just understanding the real empty, not this our own version of empty. The real empty that Buddha taught, and it will kind of eliminates or reduces this hardness we have, my thinking or my idea or this what I think, and then you can move to the second, where emptiness is no other than the form, and then you will have a more respect to the karma, more the enthusiasm towards the accumulating cause and conditions, practicing the path, rather than saying, oh, now everything is emptiness and I don't want to do anything, which is the misunderstanding of it. the side effect of emptiness. And especially when you have difficult times, when you have strong emotions, everything looks so real. And then you have to apply these teachings. You might be very arrogant, very angry, very disappointed, very hurt. Because the more it is strong, the more it becomes this rigid and real, not being able to let go. Yeah, you can discuss if you have any questions. I think it's important to do some analytical meditation step by step, For example, we do the first one. There's many texts. Like I said, 4 stages that we do: mind, no mind. Or in the many Mahasanti texts, we talks about the establishing mind as empty, and empty as luminous, and from luminous to the union. So it's just a little bit different word using, but meaning is not the same. And that will be, I think, progressively good. Because sometimes when we meditate, we are really jumping, sometimes forward, sometimes third, and there's no continued progresses. It is almost like we have 2-3 brushes. We want to paint something, and we just like everywhere, not doing it in one place continuously. So let's say if you want to practice Prajna Paramita or use the Heart Sutra, you read, but then you focus on the first one. For misunderstanding.
So
At least 2-3 weeks. Or, But you go through all this, but focus on. Then, if you gain some ideas, or maybe doubt, maybe some, it doesn't make sense, then go to read, book and ask questions, and then it will become clear. You will also have this some sort of directions, of your meditation. Otherwise, because we are almost meditating randomly, so it's because mind is too vast and profound, it's hard to see the development. So this first will be, for me, emptiness would be the working with actually the Dhammakaya among our mind. We say the essence of my mind is Dhammakaya. The nature of my mind is Sambhogakaya, and compassion. So we have this empty, luminous, and the activities. So when we say we can do it whether look it in the form and practice, or you can just look at the mind itself that practices, that meditates, both. But at the first, it's easier to do it on the something, like some object that is more obvious. Like if there's object that is not much to do with my mind, then I cannot see. So, but these are very obvious, attractive, And then even you can put something like, I don't know, something that you think very valuable, and then observe that object and see what do you mean by valuable. Is it out there? What is my mental speculation? Whether it is realistic based, or it is just based on my infatuation, or whatever, or my makes this irrational judgments. And then you become a very like, oh, interesting. I can't really trust this my mind. Because now we have a very confident about this cloudy mind. We are very devoted servant of this cloudy mind. We just say yes, follow, and you start questioning this cloudy mind. Because unless you do that, you know, it's like circus animal. You won't even know that you're becoming a slave. Once you analyze things, you think like, oh, yeah, somebody's using me. So it might give you some sort of this flexibility and a sense of softness to work on other parts. Unless you are almost like covered by all these shields, yeah, and then nothing is going inside because you are not open. You're almost very closed, rigid, and then compassion doesn't work. Mindfulness won't work because this ego has a very strong shield. It doesn't want anything else to come inside. And he has a lot of approvals. And once you start a little bit opening, and then things can go inside, there is a space to communicate with our subconscious mind.
How long should we do analytical meditation for, Khenpo?
Well, it's I think if you practicing initiation, then let's say if you are meditating for 20 minutes, yeah, and for the beginner, I think it's good to spend like at least 10-15 minutes for the analytical, and then maybe 5-7 for the resting meditation. And then you can it doesn't have to be very fixed, but you have to emphasize analytical. And I think if you do for 3 weeks, continuously, and then that is, I think, some sort of durations to whether you are progressing something or not. I think it's a good time to check. But session meditation, even this, we call it the post meditation, is actually effective sometimes. Let's say, as I was saying, you might encounter with these strong emotional things, and at that time you just stop, and if you use analytical meditation, because then you see the differences. Because otherwise, when you are meditating, because you're not reacting emotionally, so it's more like a thinking. So you won't be able to see much differences unless you use them. But it will definitely create these habits to analyze. It will slow down this very automatic reaction of the cloudy mind. But then once you do like, wow, I have changed. At least I recognize, oh, I'm angry. At least you feel a little bit hesitation to react that way. So these are all symptoms of doing that.
Is there it sounds ridiculous, but I feel like some anxiety about, oh, I won't do it properly. Like, is there a set of questions that I should sort of ask or reflect on?
Yeah, definitely. When you do analytical meditation, but it's not that you do and then you have doubt and you ask question and you will get answer and you don't expect
I know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Some question, but mostly you have to do it and observe it, you know.
Yeah.
And then it will rebuild by itself almost.
That's true.
You just have to keep this patient.
Yeah.
It's not like answer question, you ask me, I give you.
Yeah, no,
It's
I know it's not like that. I know.
But yes.
No.
But the important thing is you have to compare that with the like a text. You know, there are many texts about talks about that instruction, meditation instruction. You know? And you have to check that. Because for example, like in text it says that when you meditate, the first experience you will have is that, oh, meditation is so difficult. I have so much thought, you know. Oh, right, is it exactly? So I'm at that stage. And you go to the second one. So all these experiences are mentioned. It is said that at the beginning, our experience of thought will be like the waterfall, you know. Too strong, too many. And then slowly it will turn into the stream. So little bit, it's still, continuity is there, but still little bit less power. And then slowly you feel like a stream, not a stream, what do you call water that is not on the street, but a river.
Yeah.
And then eventually it will be like a sea.
So in analytical meditation, we'll get thoughts that will distract. And then the thing is, when you notice the thoughts distract, you know, we get sleepy or whatever, we just bring our mind back to the analytical meditation, you know, like I'm looking at this, I'm wondering about this, and then observe and see where it goes, and then we'll like that.
Right. So there's several different ways to do analytical meditation, such as going, let's say you have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You can do 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 6. You know, all these are analytical meditation. For example, let's say I get very angry. Okay. So if I do gradually, it will be like, first of all, breathing, and then stopping, and then instead of reacting, observing. And what I might use is that, oh, I'm angry. It's not healthy, you know. It's not comfortable. And I can also remember that what it is said about anger, the defect of anger in, you know, text, and also the remembering the quality or the remembering the benefits of being patient. So these are going slowly, and trying to calm down step by step. And this is usually we have to do at the beginner. It's helpful. Even you can do like you can even trick, like it is still ego, but let's say I'm in the group of people and suddenly I get angry, right? But I can think like this. I can observe like this. Okay, so when I get angry, I look very ugly. Right? So do you want to look like ugly in such a group of people? Probably not. It's still ego is saying that. But it's better to be the non-ugly than the ugly at that time.
It's the way of starting to calm it down.
Exactly. Yeah. Even you can use that, satisfy the ego.
Yes.
To less your ego.
Yeah.
These are not difficult because nobody wants to look ugly or look bad, you know, embarrassed. So it's not about.
I suppose it's any key that works, like you know, oh, I don't think clearly when I'm angry, so therefore I don't want to be angry right now because I can't think clearly.
And then let's say you're doing a meeting and something important thing, you get angry.
Yeah.
You say, no, otherwise you will make lots of mistakes, you know. You want to make mistakes? Probably not, right? So calm down better. You know, it's for a long time. Instead of looking at this, what he said to me, you know, temporarily things. Look at from the big picture. That kind of thing. So still it's benefit for you, but it's a kind of good way to start.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go from one to direct, then these are more like yogis they do. So when the thought arises, anger, they just try to, they don't try to reject the anger, but at the same time they don't follow the anger. It's like, okay, anger comes as a thought, and then he just disappears, because when you don't react to anger, he has no job. What are you gonna do? So he becomes just dissolves. So that is looking, remember, among these three methods, the third one. So you just away, because the problem is that you become an anger. That's the problem.
Yes, yeah.
You just don't become an anger. And just let anger do what he wants to do. But without you, anger cannot do anything. He doesn't have any basis to function. So he won't continue. He becomes like a job.
So if we say, oh right, for 3 weeks we want to do some analytical meditation, and one of the things I realise is I can jump about quite a lot, right? So would it be best to say, oh, decide on one thing that you're going to analyse? So if you want to say anger, so then you could do in a formal session, you can remember, oh, I'm angry with this person, and then you can analyse it from there.
Right.
And then at the same time, in like everyday life, as it comes up, you work with it as well, because you're saying, oh, this is anger, and then you start getting to know it more, and you applying the methods as you're not out of session. Like that.
So this is when we talk about it's like, because in the Vajrayana, when you practice, first thing they will ask you, when empowerment is given, we ask, okay, so what is your elements? What is your group? It's like, knowing our own blood group so that you can work with it. So first thing you have to understand is, what is your strength, highest point, and what is the lowest point. So that's why we talk about this 5 Buddha family, 5 personalities. But this is, I'm just giving you the idea in general, not necessarily. But yes, so you have to categorize yourself. There are several, but the 3 categories. Anger. Anger. That's not easy, And then after that, you have to come into the senses, because normally our mind distracts through the senses. So, for example, my strength is my eye, in form and shape. But at the same time, these are my enemy. So I have to be very careful with how I use my sense of form and color and shapes. So maybe you are attached to a certain food, you get irritated because of food, or something like that. So sound. Once you identify that, you can put it in the priority, and then you can work with it. And even you can count, like, okay, so 5, how many times in a day it comes up, and what was the reason behind that. Maybe if you're food person, it is very likely that you will get irritated or happy by the food rather than something other than. Or if I am a sound person, then it is very likely that I will be disturbed by sound rather than complaining about food. And once you know that, it's not that complicated, because it's not somebody else. The difficult is when you analyze somebody else. That's a difficult. You don't know. But this is happening in your own your mind, and you will just have to observe it, and then you have to categorize. And even you can write down actually. So this is what we call the among the three factors that produce our this cloudy mind, or nurtures or triggers our cloudy mind. This is we are talking about the object. What kind of object becomes your trigger? And then you will see really something is changing in my behavior, because you can really, all your practice can be, how to say, channeled into the one focus. You can be focused on something, and also your mind will remain very short that since you created this habit, this kind of personality attachment, and each time something happens related to that, there's more chances of realizing it, and also you will take responsibility instead of blaming somebody else.
That's quite good.
Yeah. And it's quite easy to work with yourself, so you have already accepted, instead of, for example, if somebody somebody changes things where I live or something, I will get irritated, but I won't blame that person, because I know it's my problem. It is my subjective reality, not his. I already know. Otherwise, I will immediately blame that person. Oh, stupid, Because now the good thing is this is not coming from separation. It is coming from the wisdom. And that changes a lot.
So it's interesting because what you're talking about there is like this, what you like or dislike, and then if that's changed depending on like it's your room, that's more desire, right? That's more attachment, and yet you're talking about anger. Like then you would blame them, then you get angry at them. So then, what's the culprit? The culprit is attachment in that situation, right?
No, because one emotions are always related to another.
Right.
They're very linked.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to be. Yeah.
Because if I have attached to something, I become sensitive to that object. So whatever is related to that subject, I will become jealous to that subject. I will become angry related to that subject. So these are very related to each other. It's not completely different thing. Because you become sensitive. That's the point. Good or bad, you become sensitive to that thing. So these are just knowing where's your buttons. It's almost like it's kind of finding out your points. The Tibetan doctors, they just do like this, and see what's your problem physically. It's kind of like that. And even a day, if you really observe, there's a morning till the time also plays, and you can even see how the food makes you the difference. Sometimes you feel high, certain time. Sometimes you feel low. Sometimes it's easy to get angry. Sometimes easy to get attached, but not angry. Because now if you just look at mind as a one thing and try to and you don't look at all these other factors, and it becomes difficult because something's happening, you don't know why, but it's happening there, as if that you want to cook food, and then you're almost insisting, like just putting put on something, disregarding the fire, water, all these salt, everything, and you're complaining why my food is not delicious. So these are all in the analytical meditations, observing how mind functions and how mind is triggered, and how all these small factors create the illusion, and we become a completely slave of that quality. So there's a very good metaphor. It says that imagine you are a mirror. Yeah, mirror.
Mirror, yeah.
And people come, go. People will smile. People will upset, looking at you. But it's okay. They come and goes. But now, slowly, this mirror wants to engage with that image. And now, somebody smiles, you become happy. And somebody cries, you become sad. And problem starts from there. Because you're not being a mirror. You're being the image that is inside of the mirror. And this image changes a lot. So our mind is also, if you just act like a mirror, thought will come and go, yeah? If you don't become that thought and react and make a story, you don't stop. But the moment, imagine the mirror becomes the images, and then whole things will become a turmoil. And our mind is also like that. So this is exactly when in the Mahasandhis and the Mahamudras we talk about this luminous mind, judgment, uncontrived, means that when we say uncontrived a lot, means just be the mirror. Don't be happy when there's white, smelly faces sees, or don't be sad when there's when the mirror becomes the images, all the story starts from there.
So you can be the mirror, in fact, for your own emotions.
Yes, a lot. You have to be. That's the point.
Yeah.
You don't have to, push the images.
Yeah.
It's an image anyway. It's not a mirror. But the problem is when mirror starts becoming identified with the images, that becomes a problem. Yeah.
So we should do maybe one formal session a day, and then in the day also
I think
observe.
Well, you can just let's say if you are practicing daily practice, you can just blend with that. Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to do separate one.
Right.
But I would suggest that because it's not about the long time. It has to do with again,
Repeating.
more repetition.
Yeah.
So if it is just 5 minutes,
Yes.
but try to do it twice or 3 times a day.
Yes.
Because when this habit become too long, it loses its momentum.
Yeah.
So you have to keep. It doesn't have to be long.
No.
If it is
Just
short, that's
often.
fine. Yeah. But you have to remember that.
Yeah.
That thing. So that's 2 times is good.
Yeah.
And then the important thing is that you just observe in your daily life, and then when things go wrong, over excitement and over disappointment, and that is the actually even more important than the session meditation. If you just stop for a few seconds or 1 minute, and that will be very, very
not to get carried away.
not to get away, because then it will impact the second time, third time. It becomes more and more clear, easy.
Yeah.
First time you will be still angry for 5 minutes,